Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. You know, it was just so random. YouTube, allegedly, because of its algorithms, does things whatever it can to keep you watching, but in my case, I think it does whatever it can to drive me away. As most of you know, I have nothing but naked contempt for sports, at least as a business anyway. I don't care for it, don't care about it or the people in it, that's just the way it is. And yet for some strange reason, YouTube just kept pushing a particular video at me, regardless of how many times I would point out and click on, not interested, don't recommend the video, don't recommend the channel. And yet YouTube's algorithm just ignored me because they don't really care. As far as they're concerned, if you're not paying for YouTube, well, you just gotta put up with whatever they decide to push at you. And yet, for whatever reason, I decided, maybe out of morbid curiosity, maybe out of just plain resignation to my fate, what the hell is it that they seem to think is so interesting? So I watched the video, and it starts off with a white basketball player and a black one hustling for the ball. And apparently the white guy, who seemed to be bigger, he just out of nowhere jumps on the ground to get the ball. I'm like, okay, apparently YouTube thought it was of utmost importance to my life that I see some white basketball player who out-scrambles the black one for the ball. But then the white player, on the ground, the white player throws the ball over his shoulder, and then it's caught by Kyrie Irving. Okay, the video's already 10 times better just because of that. Kyrie Irving goes up to the hoop, does an alley-oop, and another player catches it and slams the ball home. Okay, it's certainly an interesting looking play, but then again, the NBA does it all the time. Now sure, the guy on the ground throwing the ball over his shoulder, that's definitely a new twist on it, but nonetheless, it's nothing that hasn't been seen a million times before. But at least when I saw Kyrie Irving, that explained for me why it was that apparently YouTube felt to push this at me relentlessly. Because, of course, I do have an interest in Kyrie Irving when it comes to ethnopolitics. Kyrie is playing for Dallas now. This is what happened last year after he left the Brooklyn Nets, and that's the reason why I think it's important that I make this the subject of this morning's briefing. As we've already covered on this channel numerous times before, Kyrie Irving was in Brooklyn, and he would have stayed there had it not been for the libelous connivance of one Ari Emanuel and the stupidity of a useful idiot team owner, Joe Tsai. Ari Emanuel decided to demonize Kyrie Irving, and rather than stand by a good and innocent basketball player, Joe Tsai decided that he was going to try to be a hero to the white supremacist powers that be. I guess he figured that they were going to take care of him, but of course, they never do. Kyrie Irving took the disrespect from Joe Tsai personally, as he should, and he left because he knew that he was the only thing keeping that team on life support. Kyrie demanded that he be traded. He wanted to get the hell out of Brooklyn, and rightly so. Now he's in Dallas. Dallas is advancing in the league, so if they keep this up, they're probably going to be at least in contention to get themselves a championship ring, which is a hell of a lot better than they've been in the past. And while Kyrie and his team are leading the highlight reels and wowing the world, where are the Brooklyn Nets at right now? They're at home. That's where. Yeah, Joe Tsai and the boys had to trade in their tennis shoes for golf cleats. They're going to be spending the rest of the season watching the game on TV just like everybody else. And why did it go that way? Because an idiot Joe Tsai chose for it to go that way. I mean, they were on the track to be in playoff contention, to be a playoff caliber team. They had two of the league's heaviest hitters, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. All the pieces were falling in place. They were having a very strong year last year. What happened? Joe Tsai outsmarted himself, that's what happened. He threw away not one but two golden geese. That's got to be a record. Brooklyn Nets were sucking before Kyrie and Kevin came along. And while those two were there for the first time in forever, people had good things to say about the Brooklyn Nets. But just to show that there's no cure for stupid, Joe Tsai decided that rather than take care of the team, he would instead try to impress people like Ari Emanuel. He flushed his team's chances of winning a playoff game, much less a league championship, down the toilet to impress a man who's absolutely meaningless to the profits or popularity of his team. And where is Ari Emanuel at while the Brooklyn Nets is crashing and burning? Ari's busy making more deals. He's already bought the WWE, so he's going to be in charge of pro wrestling more or less. He's got the UFC, and his pal Dana White has still not been held accountable for beating his wife in public. Ari Emanuel's been moved on to other things. His little phony controversy that he ginned up, he left that in his rearview mirror a long time ago. But Joe Tsai is still having to live with the effects of it. That's what happens when you play the fool. Ari Emanuel stirs the pot, Nothing else. He wanted some quick headlines for himself while he made phony claims of anti-Semitism against black celebrities. That's what Ari Emanuel does. He tries to coerce and bully people, and the only people that he can bully are the ones who allow themselves to be bullied by him. You stand up to the scumbag like the NBA players did, he'll go away. Ari Emanuel is a bully, and at their core, all bullies are cowards, and that's the reason why he hightailed it out of there. Soon as somebody said, you know what, we're not putting up with this, then Ari Emanuel just slithered back to whatever hole he crawled out of. And the Brooklyn Nets have been left in ruins, but it didn't have to happen. Joe Tsai chose for it to happen. Some people in the white media played along with the lie that Ari Emanuel was telling, and the useful idiot Joe Tsai was only too eager to try to be a hero to people like Emanuel. Kyrie left, Kevin Durant was right behind him, Kyrie's in Dallas, Kevin Durant is in Phoenix, Dallas is advancing, and the Brooklyn Nets are at home. Yeah, sometimes the story does have a happy ending after all. Speaking of endings, I also have to wonder where our buddy Goldie Taylor's at. Isn't it about time for her to go ahead and do another pathetic hit piece on Kyrie? Except she already did that. In her vain and desperate attempt to get the attention of some white editor at a white publication or some white producer on white cable TV, hoping that they would see her hit piece and offer her a job. Remember, whenever you see some Negro bending over backwards to claim that black people are the biggest bigots, anti-Semites, etc., and doing the most to show that they're more angry about it than this or that non-black group, that's someone who's auditioning for a job from the dominant society. By the way, does anyone remember that documentary that Goldie Taylor did that crowdfunding for all those years ago? Anybody know whatever became of that project? Me neither. Though I think we all know that Goldie Taylor's not going to be doing a follow-up to her little anti-black hit piece for two reasons. First of all, the white media doesn't like having these Negroes around to begin with, so it's not like they're looking to offer them any more opportunities to do work for them. They couldn't tolerate having that Negro around when it came time for the initial hit piece. Besides, the entire purpose that bootlicks like Goldie Taylor serve is to give the white media entree so that they can go in on black people. Their job is simply to open the door and be the black face who breaks the ice for the anti-black narrative that the white media wants to push. That useful idiot goes ahead and says the stuff that the white media can't say. Then the white media jumps on board and says, well, we're saying it because this Negro who we paid to say this stuff has said it. So you can't call us racist because Goldie Taylor, etc., etc. That's the game that they play. The second reason that Goldie Taylor isn't going to be able to go ahead and write any more anti-black hit pieces on Kyrie Irving is that game only works if the target is in a position where they can be punished by the white powers that be. Or if they can point to the black person that they seem to be losing or otherwise being denied something they're trying to achieve. These smear attacks only work if the black person seems to be on the defensive. That dang sure ain't Kyrie Irving. He's winning right now. He's made Ari Emanuel irrelevant. He's made Joe Tsai a loser. Trying to attack Kyrie Irving now is to attack a winner, so they can't use their racist little narrative. At least not right now they can't. It's no good under these circumstances. They're going to have to wait until Dallas has either been eliminated, or the season ends, or perhaps some woman comes along and makes some sort of accusation. They'll have to wait for something like that. But right now, the anti-Semitism thing, that ain't going to work against anybody in the NBA right now. That's the reason why they've moved on to college kids. But I gotta tell you, trashing black people is America's favorite pastime, so we can't necessarily put it past them to try. After all, white supremacy has no new plays in the playbook, so they do the same thing, just more of it. Joe Tsai tried to show that he was an honorary member of the oppressor class and to make an example of a black man in the process. And sure, he and his pals got a temporary sugar rush when the white media congratulated him for a hit move of alienating the only man who could get them a championship ring. Kyrie and Kevin Durant showed that they could pull the plug on an entire team, though. They flexed on the devil and they won. The Brooklyn Nets have never had an NBA championship, and with a moron like Joe Tsai at the helm, they never will. He thought it was so funny to call himself trying to treat a grown black man like a child that he could scold. But Kyrie Irving wound up getting the last laugh. Tsai's attempts to virtue signal to the bigots meant nothing to the masses who actually watch basketball and pay for those tickets and pay for those jerseys. And it didn't mean anything to the professional race hustlers like Ari Emanuel who encouraged Tsai to make his team worthless. Again, I realize that this is very different than the norm for me, but I like to think that more often than not, things do happen for a reason. So maybe this video that YouTube's algorithm kept trying to cram down my eyeballs was actually for a good purpose after all. The lie about black anti-Semitism will most likely be the dominant theme of this week's briefing, so there's more to come. But I just gotta say, with all that's going on right now, seeing a man who the white media and these clowns tried to smear as being anti-Semitic, to see this guy winning, and to see the people who were trying to smear him left in the dust, it's way past time that black people in general, and these black athletes in particular, show that when it comes to standing up for ourselves, we don't play any games. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Melvin, Gordon Gates, Imani Metendaji, Naomi Hafiz, and Mikkel Smith. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.